My name is Emily Carter. I'm 29 years old, and I live in Salem, Massachusetts, a town that never forgets Halloween. For most people, it's a night of laughter, costumes, and carved pumpkins glowing on porches. But for me, Halloween will forever mean something else. It was the night I died. That evening started like any other October night. The air was crisp, scented with wood smoke and fallen leaves. I remember standing by my apartment window, watching the wind play with the orange lights strung across the street. I could hear kids laughing in the distance, ghosts, vampires, and tiny witches running between doorsteps. I was supposed to be happy. My friends had planned a Halloween party at an old farmhouse outside town, and they wouldn't stop texting me to come. But deep down, I felt hollow. For months, I'd been struggling with something I couldn't name, a quiet ache inside me. My job at the hospital drained me. I was a nurse, caring for people every day, but lately, I felt like the one who needed saving. I kept asking myself questions no one around me wanted to talk about. Is there really something after death? Does the soul survive? I had seen patients take their last breath, and sometimes I swore I could feel something leaving the room. Maybe it was just exhaustion, maybe not. By 8 p.m., I gave in to my friends' calls. "Come on, Em, you need to live a little," they said. I smiled weakly, threw on a black dress, some fake blood on my neck, and told myself, fine, just one night. The roads were crowded with laughter, headlights, and the occasional group of teenagers running across the street in masks. I remember turning up the radio, an old rock song about ghosts and time, and feeling a strange chill crawl up my spine. A whisper in my head said, "Don't go." I ignored it. When I arrived, the farmhouse was alive with music. Strings of orange lights blinked around the porch, and inside people were dancing, drinking, shouting. It felt like chaos dressed as celebration. I tried to join in, to blend my tired heart with their wild energy. But no matter how much I smiled, I couldn't shake the feeling that something unseen was watching me, waiting. I didn't know then that this would be my last night alive. I didn't know that by the time the clock struck midnight, I would be staring at my own body from the other side. Even before that night, my life had started to lose color. People saw me as this cheerful nurse who always smiled and made patients laugh, but that was only the mask I wore. Inside, I felt tired, not just physically, but spiritually empty. I grew up in a Christian home. My mother used to pray over me every night, whispering, "God will always protect you, Emily." But after she passed away 3 years ago, something inside me broke. I stopped praying. I stopped believing that anything out there cared. My father had left when I was 8, and since Mom's death, I'd been completely alone. No siblings, no real partner, just long hospital shifts and quiet evenings in my small apartment. I told myself I didn't need anyone, that saving others was enough. But when I looked at myself in the mirror, I saw a stranger with tired eyes. Sometimes, when I sat in the hospital's corridor after losing a patient, I'd feel this strange pull, like a whisper saying, "There's more than this world." But I was too afraid to listen. Fear was easier than faith. I'd started drinking more lately. Not to get drunk, just to silence that voice that reminded me of how lost I was. I even stopped visiting my mother's grave. I told myself it didn't matter, but it did. That Halloween week, the nightmares came back. Dark places, screams in the distance, and sometimes my mother calling my name, begging me to wake up. I'd wake in sweat, trembling, with the taste of metal in my mouth and a pressure on my chest, like something was sitting there, waiting. I remember one dream vividly. I was standing in a corridor filled with flickering lights, and at the end of it, a door pulsed red. From behind it, a voice whispered, "Don't wait until it's too late." When I told one of my coworkers about it, she laughed. "You've just been working too much, Em. Maybe it's burnout." Maybe she was right. But deep down, I knew it was more than exhaustion. It felt like something, or someone, was trying to warn me. So when Halloween came and my friends insisted I join them, I said yes, partly because I didn't want to be alone, partly because I didn't want to think. If only I'd listened to that inner voice. That night wasn't random. It was calling me to face everything I'd been running from, and to pay the price for it. The party, the alcohol, and the wrong choice. The farmhouse stood at the edge of the woods, an old, creaking structure wrapped in shadows and cheap Halloween lights. From the moment I stepped inside, I was hit by the smell of alcohol, smoke, and something else. Something heavy, like decay masked by perfume. People were laughing, shouting, dancing in flashing strobe lights. Costumes everywhere. Devils, angels, skeletons. It felt like chaos pretending to be joy. My best friend, Sophie, ran up to me dressed as a witch, her fake fangs glinting under the lights. "Finally! You made it!" she shouted, handing me a red plastic cup. I hesitated. I rarely drank much. But that night, something in me wanted to escape. I took the cup. The first sip burned my throat. Sweet, strong, and numbing. Music pounded through the floor, vibrating in my bones. For a while, I laughed, pretending everything was fine. I remember dancing, feeling the alcohol soften my edges. Sophie grabbed my hand, spinning me under the lights, shouting lyrics neither of us knew. For a moment, I forgot about the hospital, the emptiness, the questions. But every time I looked at the dark windows, I thought I saw something outside. Movement, a shadow watching me. Once, I caught my reflection in the glass, and for half a second, I didn't recognize the face looking back. My own eyes seemed darker. As the night deepened, people grew louder. The laughter turned into something wild, almost desperate. I don't know why, but I suddenly felt cold, an unnatural chill crawling down my spine. I set my cup down, trying to steady my breath. Sophie noticed. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I lied. "Just need some air." Outside, the night was silent. The forest around the farmhouse was swallowed by fog. The moon hung low and pale, like a dim lamp behind clouds. I stood there, arms wrapped around myself, and whispered, "Mom, if you can hear me, please give me a sign." Nothing, just wind. When I turned to go back inside, the porch light flickered. Once, twice, and went out. Everything went black. Then, from somewhere behind me, I heard footsteps. Slow, crunching leaves, coming closer. I spun around, heart racing, but there was no one. Just the whisper of branches swaying. That's when I saw it. Faint, in the distance between the trees. A figure. Still. Watching. I blinked and it was gone. I should have left then. I should have gotten in my car and driven home. But instead, I laughed it off. "Too many horror movies," I muttered, trying to shake the fear. When I went back inside, Sophie handed me another drink. "Come on, Emily, it's Halloween," she said, and I took it. That was my mistake. The wrong choice that would lead me straight into the darkness. Hours later, when I got behind the wheel, I didn't know that I was driving toward my death, the impact, and the silence. It must have been close to 1 a.m. when I finally decided to leave the party. The house was thinning out. A few people passed out on couches, others laughing drunkenly on the porch. Sophie begged me to stay. "You're not driving, are you?" she said, her eyes slightly unfocused. I smiled, trying to look more sober than I was. "I'm fine. It's only 20 minutes home." Outside, the fog had thickened, rolling low across the ground like pale smoke. The trees leaned inward over the road, their branches forming dark arches above me. I remember the hum of my car engine and the dull buzz in my head. I opened the window for air. The cold night stung my cheeks. For a few miles, everything felt strangely peaceful. The road was empty, the world silent except for the hum of tires on asphalt. I remember thinking, maybe I just need a new start. Then, a flash of light. A deer? A figure? I couldn't tell. Something darted across the road. I swerved instinctively. Too fast, too sharp. The tires screamed. The world tilted. Time slowed into fragments. The steering wheel twisting from my hands. The sound of shattering glass. The weightlessness of the car lifting off the ground. My breath caught in my throat as I realized, I'm going to die. Then came the impact. The sound was deafening. Metal against wood. The car colliding with a tree. My body lurched forward, everything turning white. Then pain, pure and electric, shot through every nerve. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My chest was crushed against the seatbelt, blood filling my mouth. I could smell gasoline, hear the faint hiss of the engine. My vision blurred. The edges of the world faded to gray, and then silence. No pain, no sound, just stillness. I could see my hands lying limp on the steering wheel, but I couldn't feel them. I couldn't feel anything. The cold crept in, not the chill of air, but something deeper. The cold of absence. I wanted to move, to call for help, but my voice no longer belonged to me. I remember a final thought flashing through my mind. Mom, I'm sorry. Then, like a light being switched off, everything went black. But death, I would soon learn, wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something I could never have imagined. Out of the body, the first thing I felt was nothing. No pain, no heartbeat, no breath, just weightless stillness. Then I heard it. A faint sound, like a distant echo of wind moving through water. My vision flickered, and suddenly, I was above my car, floating, watching. Below me, I saw the wreck, twisted metal and shattered glass glinting under the moonlight. Steam rose from the hood like a ghost escaping, and inside, slumped over the steering wheel, was me. For a few seconds, my mind refused to accept it. That's not me, but it was. My hair, my jacket, my hands, all there, lifeless. I remember reaching out instinctively, trying to touch my body, but my hand went through the air like smoke. A strange calm washed over me, soft and magnetic. I didn't feel fear at first, only confusion mixed with awe. Around me, the forest seemed to glow faintly, every leaf illuminated from within. Time felt irrelevant, suspended. The fog shimmered in silvery waves. I could hear distant voices, faint, compassionate, calling my name. Emily! The sound wasn't with my ears. It was inside me, like thought given shape. Then came another feeling, warmth. It spread through what I can only describe as my soul. My pain, my regrets, even the coldness of death melted away. I looked down at my body again and whispered, "So that's it. I'm gone." Below, headlights appeared in the distance. Another car slowing down, brakes squealing. I saw a man rush out, shouting, fumbling for his phone. His voice echoed, muffled and far away. I wanted to tell him, "It's okay. You don't have to help me anymore." But then I saw Sophie's face flash in my mind, her laughing earlier that night, her arms around me, and suddenly the calm cracked. A wave of emotion, guilt, sadness, love, surged through me. Is this really it? Before I could think another thought, everything around me began to shift. The forest, the car, the man calling for help. It all faded into light, not blinding light, but alive. It pulsed gently, drawing me in. It was like standing in sunlight that could feel you back. I drifted toward it, no longer walking but simply being pulled. And as I entered that brightness, I realized I wasn't alone. Shapes began to form, figures of light, faint but unmistakably human. Some looked at me with deep compassion. Others stood silently, as if guarding a gate. Then, one voice rose above the rest, warm, familiar, infinite. "Emily, you must see." The light around me flickered. The warmth receded. And then the brightness turned to shadow. The peace I'd felt began to crumble. Something dark waited ahead, a presence that watched from beyond the light. I was about to step into a place no living soul should ever see. The portal of shadows. The light that had embraced me began to fade, not abruptly, but like a sunset swallowed by clouds. The warmth withdrew, and I found myself standing in a vast gray mist that pulsed like breath. There was no ground, no sky, only endless shadow stretching in every direction. At first I thought I was alone. Then I heard it, a faint whisper, like wind through broken glass. It wasn't words, not at first, but emotion, sorrow, regret, pain. It seeped into me, cold and heavy. The mist thickened. Shapes began to appear, outlines of people, faces half hidden. They didn't move, just lingered, lost between light and darkness. Each face carried an emotion I recognized, anger, fear, shame. It was as if every secret I'd buried had taken form around me. One figure stood closer than the rest. When I looked into its face, I froze. It was me, or rather the version of me I had tried to forget. The one who gave up on prayer, who drank to escape, who looked away when people needed love because she was too tired to care. Her eyes were hollow, and when she spoke, her voice echoed inside my skull. "You said you wanted to stop feeling pain," she whispered. "Now you can't feel anything." I stepped back, trembling. "Who are you?" Her smile was thin. "I'm what you made of yourself." The mist around us rippled like water disturbed by a storm. The ground beneath me turned dark, reflective, like black glass, and in it, I saw scenes from my life. Mom in the hospital, me walking away from her bedside too soon, Sophie crying after her breakup, me telling her I was too busy to talk, patience I'd lost, faces I'd tried to forget. Each memory struck like a heartbeat of shame. I covered my face, crying. "I didn't mean to." "I know," said the shadow me, "but meaning doesn't erase what is done." Then the darkness began to vibrate with a low hum. The shadows trembled, retreating as if afraid. From the distance, a glow appeared. Not light exactly, but a presence, calm, radiant, unyielding. The shadow me looked toward it and whispered, almost in awe, "You're not supposed to see this yet." Before I could ask what she meant, the glow expanded. It wasn't blinding this time. It was understanding. Every ounce of fear in me dissolved into silence. I felt a question forming inside me, not spoken, but felt. "Do you want to stay here, or do you want to understand?" My voice shook. "I want to understand." The mist tore open, and beyond it I saw something I could never describe. A realm of movement, of souls, of truth itself unfolding like a storm of light. Then, suddenly, I was being drawn forward again, toward the next revelation. The meeting with the lost souls. The mist parted like curtains pulled by invisible hands, and I stepped into a vast plain of twilight. There was no sky, only a dim glow that pulsed with muted color, like the inside of a storm. The air was thick, heavy with sorrow that didn't belong only to me. Figures began to emerge from the haze, dozens, then hundreds. They weren't solid. They flickered like candlelight in wind. Some knelt on the ground, clutching their heads as if trapped inside memories that would not end. Others wandered aimlessly, whispering names, apologies, prayers that dissolved before reaching the air. I knew then that these were not strangers. They were like me, souls caught between regret and understanding, waiting for something they couldn't name. One of them, a woman with silver hair and eyes like rain, turned toward me. "Why are you here?" she asked. Her voice was gentle but carried a sorrow that seemed eternal. "I don't know," I said. "I died." She studied me for a long moment. "We all did, but not everyone remembers who they are." Her words sank into me like truth too heavy to hold. "Where is this place?" I whispered. "It's where we face what we couldn't face in life," she said softly. "Where every lie, every wound, every silence becomes visible." She reached out her hand, or what looked like one, and as it brushed my arm, a flood of sensations hit me. I saw flashes of her life, a house on fire, a child crying, her running through smoke. The pain was unbearable, and I pulled back. She nodded. "Yes, it hurts. That's why so many stay lost. But pain is not punishment. It's the beginning of seeing clearly." All around us, the souls shimmered, each one surrounded by a faint light that pulsed with their emotion. Some were bright, some barely glowed at all. I noticed that when two souls touched, their light flickered stronger for a moment, as if compassion reignited them. That realization made me ache. I knelt down beside one of them, a young man curled in on himself, whispering, "I ruined everything." Without thinking, I touched his shoulder. The moment I did, I saw his memory. A drunk driving accident, a family lost, endless guilt. My heart shattered with his pain. But instead of darkness swallowing me, something strange happened. Light spread from where my hand touched him, and the whispering stopped. He looked at me, eyes wide, and said, "I can finally breathe." Then he vanished, dissolving into golden mist. The woman smiled faintly. "You helped him see. When love enters this place, it heals what truth alone cannot." I wanted to cry. "But who helps us?" She looked upward, and for the first time, I saw a faint beam of white light cutting through the gray sky. "We're not alone," she said. "You'll see soon enough." The air shifted, a vibration deep and resonant. The light above widened, spilling over the plain. And then, from within it, a voice called my name, clear, steady, and filled with indescribable authority. "Emily." Every soul turned toward the sound. The shadows recoiled. I knew instantly. This was the presence that had followed me since my death, the one I had felt even as I lost faith. It wasn't there to punish me. It was there to show me the truth, the voice that echoed through the fire. The sound wrapped around me like wind and music at once. It wasn't loud. It was everywhere. Every vibration of that voice carried warmth, gravity, and something deeper than words, compassion that pierced through every layer of shame I had ever worn. "Emily," it said again. I tried to speak, but all I could do was think the question that burned inside me. Why am I here? The light unfolded, and from its center stepped a presence that I can only describe as human and infinite at the same time. I couldn't tell if it was a man, an angel, or something beyond both, just radiance shaped like kindness. When it moved, the gray plain brightened. When it looked at me, I felt seen in a way I never had on Earth. "You searched for proof," the voice said. Not accusing, just truthful. "Yes," I thought. I wanted to believe, but I couldn't. And still, it answered. "You kept caring for others, even when you stopped believing in yourself." Tears fell. Tears that weren't physical but made of understanding. "I failed so many people," I whispered. "You failed yourself," the presence replied softly, "when you believed you were beyond forgiveness." Behind it, the shadows trembled and thinned, as if even darkness had to listen. Images unfolded around us. War, greed, oceans of plastic, children crying, people turning away from one another. "These are not punishments," the voice said. "They are mirrors. Humanity's fear has become its greatest idol. You are all connected. The wound of one becomes the wound of all." The air quivered like fire. I felt heat, but it didn't burn. It clarified. Every selfish moment, every unspoken kindness I'd withheld passed before me. I fell to my knees, whispering, "What can we do? How do we change it?" The light pulsed brighter. "Remember," it said, "every thought born of love creates light that never dies. You were not sent back to be perfect. You are sent to remind. There is still time, but time is closing." Then everything began to dissolve again. The plane, the figures, even the light, until only the voice remained, whispering through the brightness. "Go. Tell them what you have seen. Tell them to choose love while there is still light." I tried to reach toward the presence, crying out, "Don't leave me!" But the fire folded inward, spinning like a star collapsing, and I was pulled backward, falling faster and faster, through streams of gold and shadow, until the light vanished. And I was falling back into a body that hurt. The return to life. I came back to sound first. Not music, not a voice, machines. A slow, steady beeping that seemed to rise from miles away. Then pain. Pain so complete that it anchored me, proved I was alive. I opened my eyes and saw blurred white light, a ceiling, tubes, the sterile hum of a hospital. For a moment I thought I was still in the other realm. Everything shimmered. Then a shape moved. A nurse, gasping softly. "She's awake!" Hands pressed mine. Voices shouted for a doctor. I blinked and tried to speak, but my throat was raw. Someone leaned over me, tears falling onto my blanket. "Sophie. Emily. You're here. You're really here." Her face looked years older, her eyes red from crying. "What happened?" I managed to whisper. "You crashed your car. They said you were gone for 3 minutes." 3 minutes. It felt like eternity and one heartbeat at once. The doctor came in, checking monitors, shining a light into my eyes. "You're lucky," he said. "Your vitals are stabilizing, but you'll need time." Lucky. The word sounded fragile compared to what I'd seen. When they left us alone, Sophie held my hand tighter. "I thought I lost you," she said. I wanted to tell her everything. The light, the voice, the message, but the words caught. How could I explain that I'd seen more truth in death than in all my years of living? That night, when the room finally went quiet, I stared at the ceiling and listened to the rhythm of the heart monitor. Each beep felt like a question. Why am I back? Then I remembered the last thing the voice had said. Tell them what you have seen. Tell them to choose love while there is still light. A current of warmth spread through me, faint but real. I knew it wasn't over. Survival wasn't the ending. It was the assignment. Over the next weeks, as my body healed, the world looked different. Colors seemed sharper. People's eyes carried more meaning. Every small kindness, a nurse adjusting my blanket, Sophie bringing coffee, felt like holy light in motion. But there were moments, too, when I woke from sleep shaking, hearing echoes from that shadow realm, the cries of the lost, the reflection of my own fear. It wasn't punishment. It was memory, urging me never to forget. By the time I was discharged, I'd made a promise. If I had been given back my breath, it wasn't to hide what I'd learned. It was to speak. I left the hospital with a scar along my shoulder and another one I couldn't see, a line between who I'd been and who I was now. The doctor said I'd made a miraculous recovery, but it wasn't medicine that brought me back. It was mercy. For weeks, I walked through Salem's streets like a ghost who'd been given a second heartbeat. The autumn wind was colder now, the leaves brittle underfoot. I would stop at the park where I used to eat lunch and just watch people. Mothers with strollers, old men feeding pigeons, teenagers laughing into their phones. Every one of them carried a spark of light I hadn't noticed before. I began writing down everything I remembered. The silence, the light, the shadow, the voice. Not to make sense of it, but to keep it from fading. Because the longer I stayed in this world, the more ordinary things tried to drown the memory of what I'd seen. Then one evening I decided to speak. It wasn't planned. I just opened my phone, hit record, and started talking. I told whoever might listen that death is not an end, that the darkness we fear is mostly of our own making, that every act of cruelty, every moment of indifference, builds a wall between us and what we truly are, but every act of love tears that wall down. I spoke of the place of shadows, not as punishment, but as reflection. I spoke of the light that had called me by name and said, "There is still time, but time is closing." When I finished, I posted the video and closed my eyes. I didn't expect anyone to care. But the next morning, thousands of messages filled my inbox, people telling me about their own near-death experiences, their doubts, their pain, their hope. Some said they cried. Others said they finally prayed for the first time in years. I realized then that the mission wasn't about convincing anyone. It was about reminding them of what they already knew deep down, that love, in its simplest form, is sacred. Now every time October returns and the town fills with masks and laughter, I light a candle by my window. Not for fear, for gratitude, for the voice that gave me another chance. And for you, yes, you, the one hearing my story now. If you've ever wondered whether you matter, whether there's something beyond this life, know that you do, and there is. We are all threads in the same fabric of light. So tell me, down in the comments, if you were given one more chance, one single moment to change something, to love deeper, to forgive faster, what would you do with it? Because time is still open, for now, and what you choose in this moment matters forever. They say near-death experiences change you, but the truth is, coming back to life changes you even more. Before that night, I was sleepwalking through existence, counting days instead of living them. Now every sunrise feels like a gift wrapped in quiet wonder. Every heartbeat is a second chance to do something that matters. I don't have all the answers. I still get scared, I still doubt, I still cry when the world feels too heavy. But I've seen enough to know that love is stronger than death, and that none of us are ever truly alone. The light I saw wasn't meant to keep me. It was meant to send me back. Back here, among you, to whisper one simple truth. You are the miracle you keep waiting for. So tonight, before you fall asleep, do one small thing. Forgive someone, help someone, or simply tell someone that they matter. Because in the end, those are the choices that echo beyond this world. And if my story touched you, if it made you think about your own light, your own second chance, then don't let it stop here. Tell me in the comments, what does life after death mean to you now? Have you ever felt something, someone, trying to reach you from beyond? Subscribe if you believe there's more to this world than what our eyes can see. Because next time, we'll walk even further into the mystery, together. Until then, keep your light burning.